Good morning,
Yeah, I don't know what
Jackie.
happened there where we all got booted out. I am not the official host. I think that's Liz. I'm not sure what happened there.
Can you see me, John? This is Carol.
I do see you.
Okay,
Well,
good.
actually, I see that you're on, but I don't see I don't see your camera's not.
I'm trying to get it back to
Neither will
show.
mine. Neither will mine, John. I don't know what is wrong with it.
I'm mine either. I don't know what's going on with my
I'm trying
camera.
to sign out and sign back in, but Mimi, I don't know. Mimi, are you the host or is it Liz? Because
I don't. I mean, I thought we were all the hosts.
Everybody got booted out there for a minute, I think, because
I just got booted out again. Hold on.
If you're using a Greenville Tech laptop, there's a button on the keyboard you need to press to get your camera oriented correctly.
What is it?
I don't know. When this happened to me at Brazier, I just kept hitting buttons on the laptop until it worked right, and I never did figure out which.
Oh, there it's the little camera, you guys. It's the little tiny camera.
Well, there you go.
Somehow that must have gotten hit when I was trying to open Cal stuff.
Hey, Mimi.
Hi.
Did it change anything for me?
Carol, you're still.
Carol, do you see the little camera, Carol? Like on the top of your keyboard, on the top row? Because I don't see you, Carol.
Yes, but it's now it's a black instead of like it had some other whatever or some other background or something. Well, I hope everybody's I was just chatting and saying that I just submitted I think at 8:35 I submitted my last class grades. So I hope everyone else is
Me too.
there or almost there.
John, this is weird, but Liz is saying she's in the meeting with Frank and Jackie, and where are they? They're not here.
So if
there's a different link on the agenda than there is on the email, so that might be it.
Let me send out to everybody. I don't know how that happened.
Okay, so I got mine through the email, so I'll tell her to go to the email. Right?
Yes, it happened to me before.
Yeah, me too.
Well, we need to make sure I get that synced up.
I'm telling you right now.
Here, I'll send out to everyone the
I don't know why this is happening. So did everybody here use the email link? I think so. Yeah. Okay. So that's what it is. I just told her there's 6 people in a different place.
That's probably my fault. I got to make sure I have that when we transitioned over to the new. I may not have updated both.
John, did you see that thing about the email? Just on a side, but about your email yesterday about the migration.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I I'd seen an email about that, but I hadn't caught up with it.
Yeah, they didn't. They didn't really tell people exactly who was getting migrated. I'm not migrated yet, whatever that means. But I knew that happened to a couple people.
Yeah. Yeah, it was strange because it just went from one day. It was like, oh, okay, now I'm.
Did you send something to Liz, or did you send? What did you do? Did you send her the other link?
Yeah, let me just make sure I've got that I send to her.
Because there's 7 people in the other meeting, including Jackie, and that's what she says.
Well, it may be easier. How about maybe easier since we're communicating with everybody here, why don't we have everybody just go to the link that they received? How about we have everybody go through that link, because it sounds like we have
Where is that? Which link is that?
I think it's the link that's in the link that's in the email rather than on the agenda.
Okay. She says there's a bunch of us in the other meeting.
Why don't we,
I'm telling her to go through the link in the email.
I'm trying to see if I can. No, I think they went through the link in the email. That's why I think we should all go to the link on the email, maybe.
I went to the link on the,
Hold on.
Yeah,
I went to
there's
the
a-
link in the
there-
email as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're in the link from the agenda.
How about everybody on here? I think this would probably be the easiest way to do it. How about everybody here? Go through the email link and we'll all reconvene there.
I am on the email link.
This is the link to the email, in the email.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the link to the email. I went through the link on the
Agenda?
and got
That's
here.
where, well, that's where they are.
Could we copy and paste the link that's in the email that we went to whoever you're communicating with, Mimi, and just have her posted in the chat for them, and then they click on it to bring
Liz
them
is
here?
saying, can I send you the invite for our room? What do you guys
I
think?
like that, Nathan. Yes, they're the ones who messed up.
Clearly that, but who sent it? Michael, did you send? Michael sent the link that
Yeah,
we're
there's
in.
24 people in this room and there's only 6 in that one. It'll be easier to get 6 people over
Yes.
here than 24 in a
Yeah.
different room.
Agreed.
Agreed.
At first, I thought we were going to have a division, but
Okay. I just told her, okay, I'm gonna send this link to her. Oh my God.
let me just try to go back and I'll reply to everyone and to say, please use this.
Okay, do that.
And we're sure y'all went through the one with the email, right?
Yep.
All right. I think I went through the one on the agenda and got on here, so I don't know. But
I
While
used
we're
whatever you
waiting-
sent out yesterday.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too.
I used the link that you sent yesterday.
Okay.
Actually, both
I
of the
think
links
what
are
happens is
exactly the
there's-
same, so I don't know where they got the link that they're on.
Yeah, I think what happened is I think it was like, you might have, we did transition links for the new, but when we transitioned over and Liz joined us. But I'm going to go ahead and I think while we wait for those folks to catch up with us, we do have Carol with us, though I know Carol might still be having some issues with her camera. I think that
Jackie's-
Carol.
Jackie's here, just so.
Okay,
everybody-
great.
Okay,
Yes, they just put this meeting link into the chat, so.
Yeah, sorry about the.
I'm
yeah,
very sorry about that.
And Liz is going to hang out there until everyone gets over and then she'll come over.
There she
All right.
is. Hi, Liz.
Well, I thought we'd go ahead and get going with, and I know we have Jackie and we're gonna have Jackie, I'm sure we'll have a good amount to let us know. But Carol Haygood wanted to just, as we're beginning the fall semester, do a quick reminder about the coaching and tutoring opportunities. So So again, sorry about the confusion with the links. I'm not sure exactly. We'll make sure we get that all.
Well, I don't know. I'm sorry, everybody. We had a bunch of people going to the other one, and I even looked at the links manually to check they're the same. I'm just gonna have to go through and clear the board entirely and get rid of any existing meetings and then start fresh for next time. And I don't know, I've got a month to figure it out, but I just put the attendance Google Doc up, just same as last time, blank one. You just go in and put an X by your name, or if you're a guest, down at the bottom, there's an area to enter your name. So if you please do that, thank you. And again, sorry for anybody who I Pied Pipered into the wrong room.
Well, thanks, Liz. So I'm going to go ahead, gavel in the August meeting, and then we'll start off with Carol. And Carol, if you just want to, again, kind of remind us about those resources that are available to us as we get going and start preparing for the August or for the fall semester. So go ahead, Carol.
Yes, I don't know if you all can see me yet, but I've been wrestling with this camera.
We can hear you.
You can hear me. That's a good thing. So, good morning. Good morning. I am Carol Haygood, as John said. I am an academic coach at Greenville Tech, specifically for the non-traditional career students. But that being said, as John was saying, I would like to remind you guys that we do offer services for our students to help them be successful. Wanted you all to know that we are here to assist you, to assist the faculty in helping the students be academically successful. We do offer time management, study skills, test taking strategies, just college success skills as a whole, and life skills. Statistics have shown that students don't have as much problem with academics as they do with just living life and trying to meld everything into their day and get everything done. So life skills is something that is very necessary. So we are here to help the student learn those things, to help them schedule their time, to plan their day. And not only does this skill go through college, it actually helps us once we graduate to keep ourselves on schedule. We do have tutoring, basically in the gen ed subjects right now. We have tutoring in those subjects like English and bio and math. We have the Math and the Writing Center, which is in building UT 104, room 131. For students who need help with it, writing, students who need help with math. We have those tutors available. Students can have tutoring online or in person, whichever is most convenient for them. And we do have spaces for peer tutors. So if you as faculty know students who have made an A or B in your courses, and you think that they will be a responsible adult, enough so that they want to tutor others, please recommend them. Send me an email or our tutor coordinator an email to let us know that student's name so we can contact them and maybe hire them as a peer tutor. When you are or you're counseling with a student or talking with a student, or you're teaching a student and the result of their scores are low in your, in your opinion, or in your grading system, by all means, recommend them to academic coaching and tutoring. If the student is having to take that class more than once, right? You're taking the class over more than once. We want to make sure that they get connected with academic coaching and tutoring. There may be some other reason other than academics that the student is having problems. And we don't want you guys to spend a lot of time talking when we are here to do just that, is to talk with them and to figure out what's going on in their lives. Greenville Tech has so many resources that students and myself don't know about, but they have access to. And we want to connect them to the right resources, to the right people, to give them a listening ear, to understand, to maybe help them resolve some of their issues and some of their problems that they're going through in life, in order for them to actually stay in college and graduate. This is my desire, and I hope it's yours too. So please, by all means, recommend academic coaching and tutoring. Push us. The alert system and Inspire is you can use that, and you can put a note in there to visit an academic coach, make an appointment with an academic coach, make an appointment with tutoring. We look at those alerts that you guys put out. Look at those every day to determine what you all are wanting from us to assist the student, to help you guys with the student. So if you would put those type of comments in your alerts, use that alert system. Some of us don't use the alert system. So let's use the alert system to let us know if you need our assistance with helping that student. So we are available. I'm going to put our information in the chat, our contact information in the chat for you all to contact us. And like I said, please use the alert system, use our email, tell the student, go see academic coaching. We want to become a well-known name on campus, on all campuses, actually, because we're accessible to all students and every campus and want them to come visit with us. So we want them to know that we're there for them. And the way that we get that information to them is through you. Because you are, as faculty, are seeing them every day. You have that relationship with them every day, every week. You know their progress or not. If they're progressing or not, you know that. So, I'm sure that you want to help them in any way. So be sure to push academic coaching and tutoring to those students so that they can know that we're there. Right.
Well, thanks, Carol. Anybody have any questions for Carol before we kind of let her go? Any questions? Thanks again. Thanks, Carol. That is a great resource, and again, good reminder as we begin our fall semester.
Okay, I'll put the contact information in the chat right now.
Great. Well, our sort of, I guess, our featured speaker today is our Vice President of Business and Finance, Jackie DiMaggio. So Jackie, I will now turn it over to you, and I appreciate, and we do appreciate you making time to speak to Faculty Senate again this year.
Oh, happy to do it. Would it be possible to enable screen sharing so I can share my presentation with you?
I think, Liz, I think you might have to do that.
Okay. 1 second. Let me find you in here, Jackie. Where's Jackie? 1 second. Participants. Sorry.
Well, while we're waiting, I just wanted to say I really focused this presentation on security because that was what I was asked to present on. And I wanted to put in a cheap plug for my convocation breakout session, which, we used to have the breakout sessions during convocation, and now we're doing kind of a lunch and learn the whole week of convocation. So I am on Tuesday, September 12th. I don't know if it's 12 or 12:30. But I'll be presenting on facilities, finance, and security. So I didn't want to use up my whole presentation and not have any cool stuff for convocation. So I'm focusing on security this time, but as always, you guys can ask me anything, and I will reserve the right to answer or not. Generally,
John,
unless
I'm sorry to interrupt. John, you're technically the host. I'm just a co-host. It's not giving me the option to change Jackie's status to allow screen sharing. So I'm not really.
I can also just talk through it. There's not a whole lot of pictures in my presentation. So if
Tell you what, I'll make all participants able to share.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not the admin because I can't even share my screen, so I don't. It's
Okay.
not me that's the host.
So I made it possible for all participants to
Great.
share. So
That's
Jackie,
probably good.
that should do it.
Great.
okay, there we go. And I just have to
Perfect.
figure out what that little spot is.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oops, and then I went too far. So, alrighty. Please interrupt me if you have questions. I did leave a screen at the end for questions in case I forget it. I won't monitor the chat because then I get distracted. So if something pops up on the chat, please let me know.
We can do that for you, Jackie.
Thanks, I appreciate it. So we're really focusing on security on on our campuses because we know how important it is to our faculty, staff, and students. We are committed to protecting the welfare of everyone who visits our campus and our facilities and our intellectual properties. So as part of what we're doing now, in 2022, we had a audit, basically, or a security review done by a gentleman who works at USC Upstate. He's the chief of police there, and he has one of the few accredited collegiate police departments, and he's absolutely brilliant and very well versed in collegiate policing. So he came and looked over our entire security system, made a lot of recommendations, and helped us prioritize. So the first thing that we're, obviously our goals are to minimize the impact of any emergencies and make sure that our campuses are as safe and secure as possible. We want to assure our employees that our buildings are safe, and we want people to have confidence. And we want to increase the overall satisfaction, because when we do some of our employee satisfaction surveys, security does come up. And obviously, with the world we live in, there's never going to be a place where we're going to be able to be in a bubble and have us all safe and secure. We could, be at a grocery store or anywhere, at a college campus, at a concert. Bad things happen all the time in many, many places. So obviously we're never going to have a perfect situation, but we're going to work as hard as we can and devote as many resources as we can to try to improve the safety and security on our campus. So one of the first things that we are doing, we have set aside just over $2 million for access control and surveillance. And that is a contract that we just recently signed, and we'll start seeing people working on that within the next few weeks. So all of our buildings are going to be outfitted with electronic locking devices so that we can lock down the exterior doors to our buildings, basically with the touch of a key. We will have our exterior doors will have card access points so that if someone needs to access a building when the building is closed, they will be able to enter buildings, provided they have the security access, and they've been granted that as a part of their position. We're going to be able to initiate a very quick lockdown of buildings if there is an emergency or a critical incident, so that we can basically lock down all of our buildings at once if we needed to, or we could lock down single buildings if necessary. Each building's access control system is going to be computer controlled and locked and unlocked with that keystroke, as I mentioned before, and it'll also be on a timer. So all of our buildings will unlock and lock based on the timer, but they could also be shut down immediately if necessary. And the building is going to the system will include a tracking system. So if someone were to access the building during off hours and anything were to happen, we would know who was in that building, and we can know if someone is in a building. If something were to go wrong, we could be sure to know who's in that building, provided they swipe in and we don't have someone drafting someone else who is in. Obviously, our systems are only as good as the people who are using them. So if, I love it when we're polite and we hold doors open for people. But if it is after hours and we're using our new access system, please make sure that people have the proper credentials to access the building. So we went through with our new partner that is working with this, they've gone through every single building that we own. And so what I did was just pull up the Student Success Center so that you can kind of see all of the red spots are our exterior doors. And some of those buildings, depending on the age, have existing systems that we can just tap into. Other buildings that are older, we have to wire, obviously, so that we can have that access control to it. So you will be seeing some of our IT people. There will be some electricians, and then there will be the people installing those, the hardware actually to lock down the buildings. So some of them are going to be a very quick one and done, and others you might see people working on the doors for a week or so to want to get through all of those steps. But if you were to look at it, we could lock down every door in a building with that keystroke. The other thing that we are doing is we're installing surveillance cameras. So it'll be a comprehensive camera system for parking lots, building entrances, and it will capture all of the events, incidents from, there might be a traffic or a little fender bender. We might have special events going on campus, or there could be another incident or a crime. So we will have surveillance cameras that will be monitoring our campus. It will also has this intelligent auto tracking cameras, so it can follow either a person with facial recognition or a vehicle based on a license plate from location to location. The system is going to be compatible with our other law enforcement partners, so this system can be accessed and used by Greenville City, Greenville County, and it's integratable with the systems that they have. So that's going to make it a lot easier for our other law enforcement partners to be helping us. So what you can see, again, I just pulled up one building. So I pulled up the Student Success Center again, and you can see here are the exterior cameras and what they would be viewing on that particular building. And here, back to the original one, if you look at the yellow, you'll see that we've got cameras that would be focusing on all of the door entrances and like the main hallways entering a building. We've got some additional initiatives going on. So we've recently installed, I guess, a new emergency communication system. It's more user-friendly, and we'll get messages out quicker if there are weather alerts, emergency alerts, any of those kind of alerts. And that is an opt-out system. So people will be opted into the system, and they would have to opt out if they did not want to get the text messages. We have done a survey, and we are upgrading our exterior lighting across all of our campuses. We've looked at our landscaping. That was part of the safety and security review. And we are going to be cutting back some more. I mean, obviously, we did a lot of tree trimming on the Barton campus, which made it much brighter at night with our because the tree canopies before were really blocking a lot of our street lights. So by lifting up that tree canopy, it makes our street lights and parking lot lights more efficient and effective, and allow them to just make the campus brighter at night. If there is landscaping around buildings that a person could hide in, or we're cutting those back and trying to get to smaller landscaping pieces so that we're not creating a problem. We're also going to be doing a pretty significant landscape event around the tributary to the Reedy River that runs in between the Student Success Center and our new Center for Health and Life Sciences. So we've worked with the city, which has taken a long time, to make sure that we're not taking out any protected tree species, and we are identifying all of the invasive species that we can take out. That's a project that's really going to happen a little bit later in the fall, just because that's the best time to do that kind of work. But the plan is to really open up that so you could actually see through that area from the Student Success Center to the new Center for Health and Life Sciences. So I think that's going to make our campus a lot more open and inviting, as well as safer. We are revitalizing the building marshals and floor captains. We've had a lot of people retire, change buildings. So there were some vacancies in those areas. So both Chief Brooks and John Moore will be working to identify building marshals and floor captains, make sure that they're equipped and trained, so that we have people on every floor and in every building that can help in the event of an emergency situation. We're also having additional training for our police officers. Actually, one of their wigs is to do some additional training for campus, designed specifically for campus police officers. They're also doing all kinds of additional training with the Greenville City and Greenville County Police. And we have a great partnership with them. So those are some of the projects that we have going on. I know I went through that quickly, so happy to answer any questions or address any concerns that anyone has. And if you have questions about other things pertaining to finance, I'm happy to answer them. Finance, facilities, whatever. I just, like I said before, I didn't want to do my whole breakout presentation because then you wouldn't listen to it on the 12th of September at noon.
Questions from anybody? I know we have a safety committee that's been looking, or that has obviously shown a lot of interest in. So any questions from anybody for Jackie?
And the last slide was thank you, but sometimes I like seeing faces when we're looking, so.
Well, Jackie, I'll just kick. I know you mentioned we'll start to see people with wiring, electricians and so forth. When's the projected completion of this project?
6 to 8 months.
Okay.
Possibly sooner, but I don't want to make promises. And then just because some of the buildings, like if you were to look at UT, the older buildings, they just require a lot of additional wiring. And but we chose the company that had the most people available to work on the project. So I'm hopeful that it'll be quicker than that.
Yeah, I think Mimi has a question.
So when you say we can lock down the exterior doors, who's the we? Like
The police department, and there will be other employees who will be trained and have access to that. It's not going to be every employee can lock down a building. But as soon as someone is notified that there's an issue, there will be multiple people that are capable of doing that. We just have to have, a somewhat limited numbers so that we don't have instances where people are inadvertently locking down the campus.
Is that from the computers in classrooms, or how do those designated people do that?
Anyone who is designated would be able to do it from their computer. I think the police officers might even be able to do it from a phone, but I can't swear to that. And when we're talking about access control right now, the buildings the newer buildings and renovated buildings, when we have the Salto system, so we have this little green tab. That is one way to access the building. We did with this partner discuss the ability for people to be able to use their cell phones, which would be nice not to have an additional thing on your keychain. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that as well. And that is going to also help us in terms of shutting off access when we need to. I'm sure all of you know that we had an employee in the business office who embezzled some money. And when I said, well, let's, shut down, make sure that her key, little fob access is shut down, we found out that, one person left and gave it to their supervisor, and their supervisor gave it to somebody else, and that somebody else, left and gave it to somebody else. And that's another problem that we have with those fobs. So in order to have good access control, we do have to make absolutely certain that we don't hand off the fobs. We've had that issue, with keys. Everybody, I think, in Greenville County has a key to something at Greenville Tech. Just because we were not diligent years and years ago getting keys back from people. So now that we have the electronic opportunities, we still do need to make sure that people are taking care of their fobs. And that's why I would really prefer to go to phones, because then it's easy. It's not like I could just hand it off to somebody else, or somebody could take, if someone had a desire to do something wrong and I leave my keys on my desk all the time, they could swap out my fob with someone else's, for all I know. So it would be much nicer to be able to do this with phones. So I saw Kathy's got her hand up.
Yeah, hi, Jackie. Just curious about the camera system. Is it monitored continuously?
It will be monitored. There are going to be so many cameras, because there are multiple cameras, that no one is going to be able to monitor every camera. The police officers will have access to it on their computers and on their phones, as will other designated employees. But, no one is going to be watching every single camera every single day, because there's just too many cameras to be able to.
Do they record on a loop, and how long is the loop and all that?
They record on a loop. I can't remember. I think it's 30 days. Might be longer.
Okay, thank you.
Mimi.
When you say, so are the student, like, when people come into the building, are the students going to have to use I'm just not sure who has the
Buildings will be, we are an open campus, and we will remain an open campus, as far as I know. So this is going to be, right now we have people physically locking and unlocking doors at 7 o'clock in the morning. They unlock them, and at 10 o'clock at night, they lock them. So if you were to try to go to work because, you've got, like today, I came in early because I didn't finish my presentation yesterday. So if I wanted to come in at 7 and the building wasn't unlocked, I could use my fob. You could use your fob on a weekend when the buildings are locked. Students wouldn't have access to do that.
But during regular school hours, any students still come in and go freely during regular business? Or yeah, okay.
John.
Yeah. How will that be determined in terms of, will faculty, will it almost be a default that we would have access to come into our offices on the weekends and in the evenings? Or how will that be determined?
To be honest, I don't know the answer to that question. I think that's probably something that we should discuss. Right now, certain people have keys. So I would think that by virtue of who has keys, we might be told that those people should have access. One thing we really don't want is a lot of people coming in on weekends, meeting with students when we don't have a lot of security on campus. Excuse me. Since we don't have housing anymore, I'm really trying to work to not have 24/7 police presence, because if you've got somebody here from midnight to 6 a.m. and we don't have anybody on campus, what are they doing really? And the worst thing that can happen is property damage. I would rather have more police officers here on campus when we have people on campus. So we are working to eliminate those off hours of policing if there's nothing going on campus, so we can have more people. But we still don't necessarily want you to, meet with a student for tutoring or something and just be letting students on campus when we are closed. So it would be something that I think would be authorized by your dean or department head.
Thank you. Anybody else? Questions?
I'm sorry, this is me again. So between the Student Success Center and the new building, maybe I just don't know this, but so they're gonna take down some of those trees that aren't endangered species or whatever. Is it still just gonna be that little bridge? Where is that exactly?
Oh, I did not want to have this conversation because I don't want you all to get excited about something that I can't
Oh, there's gonna be a new bridge.
promise is going to happen, but it is my goal in life to get us a bridge. Because that bridge it was built by our facilities guys well before I ever got here. I think it's got to be somewhere 30 to 40 years old. It's got 1 million steps. It's a little bit rickety. And so in a perfect world, we would have a beautiful bridge that would cross that ravine. And that is something that the foundation is working on donors for. One of the problems that we have with that is it's hard. Every time we do a building project or some kind of project, we have to go to the state and get approval if we're going to spend more than $1 million. And the bridge would be, if we wanted something ADA compliant that you could bike over, that, multiple students could walk across. We're going to be spending more than $1 million. And it's hard to go to the state and say, I want to build a bridge when we've got a lot of other things. So we have to do a comprehensive permanent improvement plan that we submit to the state every year. And it's kind of our wish list of projects. That's always been on there, but I've always shown it as being funded by donors. Just because it's really hard to, say we need to build the bridge when there are other ways to get from point A to point B. It's just not as direct. So yes, I'd love to have a bridge. If any of you win the lottery and want to donate some money to the college, we could get a really pretty bridge. But it is my goal, but I don't know when it will happen.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I know this has been a hot topic, and it's great to hear that that some of the concerns are being addressed, and I'm sure that will, especially for folks that are here in the evenings and so forth, make things feel a lot more secure. And then just from a first, I know I've come before, and so for some reason at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, and they've forgotten, whoever's supposed to open the building has forgotten. So it'd be good to have that be set up on a timer. So
it would be great.
good.
We have, sometimes it's police officers, sometimes it's custodial services. If somebody's sick, then we don't always get word. So I'm very excited about the idea that we could unlock buildings automatically. That's going to be much more user friendly. Thank you for the kind words, Catherine. I appreciate that.
Well, last chance to ask questions. Well, got Mimi up there.
Mimi.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So I just wanted to say that thank you very much for coming, and that was great information. But I also wanted to say, if you want to say anything else about anything big or interesting that's happening that we might not know about with the college, like now at the beginning of the semester, that any changes that unrelated to that, maybe if you'd like.
Well, I mean,
welcome
I'm very excited about CHILS, our new Center for Health and Life Sciences, that will be open just about a year from now. So fall of 2024, we'll be holding classes in that building, and we should be completely moved out of UT. The state legislature gave us some money to build a center for workforce development. So on our Brazier campus, we are building a new building that will be primarily welding. but possibly, and, you know, possibly some more specialized welding, but I think we will be able to train a lot more people in that area, thanks to the legislature. My next huge desire is to replace the UT building. Don't know exactly when that's going to happen. I kind of need some money for that. But we are working on it. We did receive some deferred maintenance funds from the state. So I hope that you've noticed we've done and are continuing to do many restroom renovation projects. So we've renovated a lot of restrooms, and I think we're starting on the nursing building next week. But we've done a lot on some of our branch campuses, and we've got a list. So basically we've got a company that we're working with that as soon as they finish one building, they're moving on to the next. So that's big. We are trying to replace some windows in some of our buildings that have, you know, the seals are broken and they're fogged up. We're replacing carpeting. We just finished the carpeting replacement project in the nursing building as well. So I know that it's kind of hard when you're in an old building to see this beautiful new building go up, and you kind of get building envy. But we are working as hard as we can to try to upgrade all of our buildings. But, you know, I just, when I go into a building and see some of the really nasty restrooms that we've got, we just said we've really got to attack this, but it's like eating an elephant. We've got to do one bite at a time. So please be patient with us. We're working on chair refreshes. We used to do rounding. The president's cabinet was trying to go around and talk to people. I think we've sort of stopped doing that. I mean, I still talk to them when I get the opportunity, but it's not that focused effort that we were trying to just grab 2 employees every week and talk to them. But when I was doing that, one of our employees said, you know, I see this beautiful new building going up. It was when we were building CMI, and I've been working here for 30 years and I still have the same chair. And I was like, well, you know, we can get new chairs. So so we're working building by building, and I'm saying that if you need a new chair, want a new chair, we have like 3 that people can choose from, and then we order them in bulk. But if there is something like that, please let us know. I mean, we're not trying to, you know, we're trying to do what we can to make sure people are comfortable. And I don't want to find out that people are sitting in rickety old chairs. If we can improve that situation, we're trying to do furniture refresh for classrooms. I don't know, there's a ton of stuff going on. Really, I think our decision to hire Michael Ruff as our facilities director was a great one. Michael was here before Scott left, and he's just got a lot of great ideas, and we are focusing on right now doing a assessment of every room on our campus. And Michael and Tom Gregg are leading that effort right now. So they're going in and looking at, you know, paint, flooring, everything. And they are putting it on a 1 to 5 Likert scale. And so then we can, as we have the funds available to improve spaces, we're going to attack those ones that are scored the worst, obviously, and try to improve all of our buildings. But again, we're doing it as quickly as we can and as funds allow. So that's all the bragging I'm going to do on our facilities, guys. And that was kind of another piece of what I'm going to be talking about on September 12th. That I want you all to be there, because I want to have the biggest attendance. So that's why I keep giving it a chance.
Jackie, and I don't want to open a can of work, but it has come up a few times about the parking situation, faculty parking situation. Are there going to be any changes as we come into fall? I know there was concerns where there was faculty were, having to park quite some distance away from the buildings they were teaching and so forth. And, the location and storage of the university vehicles, and those might be taking up some prime spots. Is there anything you could share about that?
To be honest, I don't have any intention of changing that at this point in time. People that use our college vehicles are leaving oftentimes early in the morning, coming back oftentimes late at night. We've moved around because of building projects. We've moved the fleet vehicles many times. We're never going to be in a situation where faculty, staff, or students are going to be happy with parking. And I've gotten to the point where I've learned to accept that. I think the safety and security of people using the fleet vehicles is extremely important. That's why we put them where they are. And I don't want to move them. If you disagree, I'd be happy to sit down and have a cup of coffee and we can talk about it, or we can walk around and look. But I'm never going to make you all happy. I know I am not. I want to, and we're doing everything we can. But we were extraordinarily spoiled with our parking situation, and with the new Center for Health and Life Sciences, we're never going to have that great parking situation again. But on the bright side, look at how many additional steps you can get in. So I'm looking at this as one of our campus wellness initiatives. So yes, you have to walk a little bit farther. You can complain about me as much as you want. Curse me, I'll take it. But I don't really see any changes unless somebody can come up with a better idea. I mean, if you look at retail, employees usually are supposed to park the furthest away from buildings so that our customers can be closest. We talked about that once, and I almost lost my life and my job, so I dropped that. But I'm sorry, I can't fix the parking problem. And when we did have our academic master plan, we were told by the academic master plan people that basically every college and university they go to, they hear the same thing. And we do not have a parking problem, we have a walking problem.
Yeah.
So I really tried to keep this as upbeat as possible, but I don't think I can fix parking. But we are going to have this gorgeous new parking lot that should be open. It's really hoping for the first week of classes, but it might be like a week or two after classes start, up next to the Student Success Center. It's because of the city, we have to have tree islands, and it's just going to be a really pretty well-paved parking lot. And another cool thing that we did was those crosswalks that you can push the button and get the flashing lights. So we will be putting some up towards the front of campus when we open that new parking lot. So sorry, bad answer on parking. Curse me all you want.
There's no bad answers. We just wanted information. Get our steps in. That's all right. That's all right. So again, any other last call for questions for Jackie, and I want to respect her time. Mimi, yeah.
And yes, I did just notice the comment from Philip. Yes, enforcing incorrect parking is huge. One of the problems that we do have, excuse me, is getting parking permits to our students. So we are using one of the conversation rooms in the Student Success Center for ID cards and parking permits so that students don't have to go all the way over to ET, because we heard complaints about that. So we are moving parking permits and IDs to the Student Success Center. Mimi, you're muted.
Yeah, I just was wondering about when you said you want to replace the UT 104 building. So are there ideas of what they're going to replace it with, or what the thoughts for the future about that area are?
There have been a lot of things kicked around, but I really don't know. I don't think we've landed on exactly what that is going to be yet. One thought was kind of a business school, another cybersecurity. There's just been a lot of discussion, but no, we haven't landed anywhere. So I don't want anybody to quote me that we're building a new school of business, because sorry, William, but that hasn't been decided yet.
Thank you.
All right, well, Jackie, again, we really appreciate your time and your willingness to come address these issues, and great news about the new safety features. So we really appreciate it. Thank you.
No, you're
And we
more than welcome.
and again,
Happy to be
plug.
here.
So convocation noon.
Tuesday, the 12th. Yes, another
Oh.
cheap plug. And thank you, Catherine. I love the idea of eliminating on-campus parking for everybody. We did talk to the city about possibly helping us with the bridge. And they wanted us to try to figure out how many employees that we have that walk or bike to work via the Swamp Rabbit Trail. So if you know of anybody who does that, do you?
Sometimes, yep.
If we could find that out, that would be great, because we're there. We're
I do
trying to
too.
get them to help us. Nice, thanks, Bowman. Cool. Where do you guys put your bikes?
In my office.
I usually just leave it right inside in the criminal
Ah.
justice building every once in a while when I do it.
Right there.
There it
Nice.
is.
All right. Well,
Very good.
also, if anything ever comes up, if you have questions, always feel free to reach out. I'm not going to always give you the answer you want, but I'll give you the best one I've got.
Very good.
And I appreciate all you do for our students. You guys are the best.
Thank you. Thanks, Jackie.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And I know Nathan Sasser wanted to address the group before we move on. So Nathan, I'll recognize you. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Well, Mimi suggested I get on it and say a couple things. Last time we talked about the artificial intelligence, the generative AI and our response to that, and I had this proposal I wrote up, and apparently we haven't heard anything from the administration back on any of the things that were discussed last time. And it seems possible that we may not hear anything back from the administration, before school starts. In any case, Faculty Senate won't have a chance to meet and to act on all that. So in light of any leadership from above us, in the absence of that, rather, there's a couple of things I think are pretty important for the Faculty Senate, and maybe specifically the AI committee, to equip faculty with. And so here's a couple of things that I had in mind. One is they need some kind of, like, similar to what Mimi did for Faculty Senate a couple meetings ago. People need to be, I'm thinking especially of adjuncts who maybe haven't been privy to as many conversations and so forth. They need, basic training on here's what AI can do. It can do all your assignments, and here's what it looks like if you have a student submit it, so that people are really aware of that, because I think a lot of people are still oblivious to what those submissions look like. So they need some basic training. Another thing that I think everybody needs is boilerplate on AI policies to put in their syllabi. And frankly, I'm not sure whether the best way to go about that is to have boilerplate information that is college-wide, school-wide, departmental-wide, or just individualized to each instructor. But whichever way you want to go, however kind of uniform you want to make it, it would be really helpful, I think, for instructors that at least have a template that they can cut and paste and use and modify as they see fit. And that should include something like, okay, yeah, we're aware of what AI is. Here's ways it can be useful. Here's how I do and don't want you to use it in this class. And here's how to cite it if you do use it. Those are kind of minimal things that probably all of us want to have. Now, I think the questions for faculty senate to consider is, do you want that kind of language, that kind of boilerplate to be individual to each instructor? Do you think that there should be some college-wide material? The other is, what's the most useful format for us to make, most useful context for us to make kind of that brief educational material available? Should it be like a video type of thing that Mimi does that gets distributed and sent out? Should it be like arts and sciences has a beginning of semester meeting? Is that the context to talk about that? What would be the most useful format? I think that's something that faculty senate could talk about. And are there other related matters here that, you know, our faculty need to be equipped with? Maybe whether that's information about programs that can help detect, you know, AI in a submission or what have you. What do you think? And think especially here of adjuncts. What do they need to be equipped with as we go into the semester, and what's the best format for us to equip them in? That's something I think be great for you all to hear about, and faculty senate's committee on this can then act upon your recommendations as best they can.
Thanks, Nathan. And yeah, and kind of address that. My understanding and kind of is that Dr. Miller, I think, had some sort of minor surgery at some point, and then he also I think he's now on vacation. So we were not, and we've not resumed our meetings with him, but that will definitely be an issue that we bring up. And I think, Nathan, you know, getting a conversation started, I think is sort of the key. I know this is a fast changing landscape, but with anything like a policy, it's going to take, you know, probably some time. So we will start that conversation with Dr. Miller when we resume our regular meetings, and we can report back to kind of what he's saying, and that can inform the AI committee and so forth. But I think great idea about the training and so forth, that you know, we all have our requirements for, you know, continuing education and professional development. So that certainly seems to be a place where that can fit in. So, all right. Well, next up on.
Sorry, can I say one
anybody
thing
else
about
got
that?
something?
I'm gonna set up the AI committee meeting today, or another one. I will say anecdotally that I've been in sort of a conference or a meeting all week long, and there were people who were saying that AI was being used, and they were saying they could tell it was AI because it was riddled with errors. And I think there's a misconception of what it looks like, even for a lot of people, because what I was seeing was not what I know and have understood and have witnessed to be AI material. So that needs to be clarified too in the with training, I guess, or, you know, even if it's a brief thing at the arts and sciences meeting, like Nathan suggested. I'm not sure, but we're going to talk about all three of these things: policy, training, and how to get that information to people.
Jamie Ruffton had, I think, a very helpful comment in the chat about Turnitin as an AI detection tool. I'm wondering, just piggybacking off that, Jamie, we use SafeAssign. The English department in particular has complained is a strong word, but we have expressed concerns many times over the effectiveness of SafeAssign just as a basic plagiarism detection program, and it definitely cannot handle anything related to AI. What is, I mean, I don't think it's the solution to everything, but in terms of something adjuncts can use, something that can be used across the campus, what's the what do you think is the realistic likelihood we could campaign to the college that we make a shift from using SafeAssign to using Turnitin? Thoughts on that?
I might have wanted to ask Jackie that, like, if I imagine it matters how much it costs.
That's what they're going to do, is look at that. But we'd have to do some, I'd say, a little more research on that, and then explaining why that's a better program.
For sure. But it just seems to me like using a program that is useless generally is a waste of money versus potentially investing a little bit more in something that is useful. And yeah, if maybe that could be put on the AI committee's research agenda to look into how effective Turnitin is at accomplishing this stuff, and maybe what the pricing is. I just feel like that's like such a tangible change that could be made. But yeah, it always comes down to money. But it's also like, if the reputation of Greenville Tech becomes that, well, they really can't catch you if you use AI, and that kind of word spreads pretty quickly, as we all know. That seems potentially pretty awful for us as an institution. So I don't know, it could be a good investment. I feel like we could maybe make the pitch, but you're right, we'd have to look into how effective it actually is. So Jamie, it looks like you've got some more insight into that than we do. But if that could be put on the AI committee's agenda to at least look at more closely. Okay. Yes.
I'm gonna let's proceed, and then we could pick this back up when we get to I have that, it is under old business if we want to talk some more about the AI and academic misconduct policy. So as well as when we have a committee report. So let me work through first of all, examples of service excellence. Would anybody like to recognize as we've just completed our summer semester, or we're in the process, I guess, today, completing the summer semester? Anybody like to recognize a fellow faculty member, a staff member, somebody on campus for their contributions? Sure, there's somebody out there. Melissa?
I'll speak up. I want to recognize the admissions department, and specifically Meg Sutton. She is wonderful at helping our students, especially those that are coming in for what's called the Teach Scholarship that helps pay for their coursework in early childhood. But most importantly, she worked specifically with the student this past week who had been flagged as an out-of-state student for longer than she should have. So she's actually getting a reimbursement for the past year on her tuition. So I want to send a shout out to Meg, but also the admissions team, because I know they're working extra hard getting folks registered right now.
Great, thanks, Melissa. Anybody else like to recognize somebody? Going once, going twice? All right, we'll move on, and thanks, Melissa. In terms of President's report, there's not much new to report since July. We have not, as I mentioned, we've not had a chance yet to resume our meetings with our Vice President Miller. I anticipate that those meetings will resume before the beginning of, my understanding is that when we talked to him at the end of, back in May, that we would resume in August. So we have not yet set a date, but I would project or anticipate that we'll meet with him before our September meeting. And we certainly do have a number of topics that have been brought up that we will address with them. And as always, if anybody has a concern, kind of a policy concern, we certainly can't just address individual concerns of individual people, but if you have a policy concern, a college policy concern that you'd like addressed with VP Miller, please let us know. And when Liz and I and Mimi meet with him, we can bring that to him, and hopefully we'll get some feedback from him about that we have forwarded on to him, the AI, the academic misconduct concerns, and hopefully we'll be able to address some of those when we meet with them in August. All right. So next up would be committee reports. And so first up, the AI committee, academic misconduct. I know we heard from Nathan and Mimi and Liz just a little bit, but anything update from the committee, Mimi?
Except for that we have been, I mean, we're going to meet, like, I think as soon as possible. Again, now that we have these things, I've been waiting, as we know, for the we've been waiting for the reactions to the approved changes to the student handbook and the academic misconduct form, but we haven't gotten approval or anything. And I think it's because Dr. Miller hasn't been here. He's not been here. So apparently he's coming back the 7th. We'll work on that. I'm going to set up a new AI meeting. And we're going to address the issues that Nathan suggested. And of course, all of us, people constantly are sending me, Jan Hurt sent me some great information, I think yesterday. So I'm collecting so much information about, because as it constantly is evolving about AI and the way people are handling it. So we're going to continue with that. As soon as we have the meeting and get some confirmation of that we can go ahead and make some changes. I hope we can do them as soon as possible. I don't know if they're going to be in the fall. I don't know if it's going to happen for fall because it's been about a month since we sent some of those things in and haven't gotten affirmation or whatever for them. So that's about it for the AI committee, unless any of you other people want to say something about that.
Maybe, and kind of piggybacking on what Nathan said, maybe one of the things that could be a benefit, because obviously the college has not yet come up with something, maybe just as a resource, if the AI committee before the beginning of the semester could just give some sort of template language for a syllabi for professors to discuss in class, that might just be a nice place to get started.
Yes, we're going to work on that.
Philip, yes.
Good morning, everyone. I am here despite flying in at 1 a.m. The only thing, and I may have mentioned this last month, but to be honest, I don't really remember. I know ChatGPT, amongst other AIs, have now included, and I sent this to you, to the executive group, the ability to reference, include the URL, include exporting the response back. So there is some things that are happening on AI's end where they're trying to allow for citation, because I don't know if we try to exclude all these AIs more than we just implement and kind of integrate them, but properly. So I think I just sent it to the three of you, but it's just preliminary. I have already started using that in classes, knowing that people are going to do that, and I just tell them, to be honest about it, because if the college does adopt something that does check for AI, if they've cited it, then they've covered themselves, at least as far as I'm concerned, as a non-English instructor. But if they don't, then obviously then we have to worry about, plagiarism.
Yeah, and I think, Philip, you kind of touch on something that is, I think that this issue of AI, and especially the ChatGPT issues, touches different programs, departments, schools within the college differently. Obviously, I hear y'all in the English department that this is a top priority, and I know probably not, that's not necessarily in everyone, but we're all, I'm sure, going to be dealing with AI at some point in the not too distant future. Well, or not in the future at all, right now. So thank you. Adjunct Support Committee. Do we have any plans?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm here.
Yeah, Lavon.
So we decided that we were going to table it until now, the fall. And so we're going to be reconvening. We haven't met yet, but we will be reconvening.
All right. Thank you, Lavonda. The Safety Committee.
I think I'm supposed to be the spokesperson, but I haven't actually, because I'm new, I haven't actually met with anyone. So, and then of course, Jackie did a great job of covering all that. So I will be in touch with the members of the committee in the next week or so.
Very good. Well, I think the mere existence of the Safety Committee apparently has has sparked a lot of new progress on campus. So maybe that was great that last year we got going with the safety committee. What we can try to take credit. Very good, thank you. Course inclusivity and accessibility. Somebody, yes, Liz.
Hi. So lots of exciting things happening. We did not meet this month because we all had so much homework, I guess you could say, from our initial meeting. We sort of divvied up the various research tasks, and we've May graciously kind of took the lead on reaching out to, we want to work very closely with the SDS office for obvious reasons. And so she was able to get us some pretty interesting statistics from them on how many students are served, and we'll make sure we pull those up at our at the September meeting, because again, we'll be having DANA, which is the Disability and Neurodivergence Alliance student organization. We've been working with them. They've got fantastic suggestions, and so y'all are going to hear all about that kind of straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And so we have been looking, Coleman Ross has been looking into the reporting system that we have. There is a reporting system that students can use when they come across a barrier to accessibility. So there is a system, but we're kind of examining it a little bit more closely for usability, and just getting some questions answered about that. So we're gonna, we just found out that someone, Jana Barnes from SDS, is gonna join us at our next subcommittee meeting, so that we can pin her to the wall with questions on how all of that works, and talk to her about some improvements that can be made. We got in touch with Matthew Kazazus as well, who is the faculty advisor for Saga. So the kind of the other side of things with inclusivity. So I'm gonna hopefully attend one of their meetings and kind of introduce what we're about and what our goals are, and how we'd like to work with them more closely. So between DANA and Saga and the SDS office, I think everything's chugging along really nicely, and we're gonna have some really good kind of tangible policy and concrete recommendations that we can bring to the administration to make our college a more accessible and inclusive place for everybody. So stay tuned for that.
All right, thanks, Liz.
Yep.
And then I'll address remote work. No meeting this past month as we've been winding down the last semester and finishing things up. But I think the next moves are to kind of look at what other colleges have been doing. I think there's a lot of movement post-COVID. So be interesting to check in and see what other colleges, specifically what other colleges within the technical college system here in South Carolina, as well as we may return back to the group of colleges that Dr. Miller gave us to look at our on-campus versus off-campus and work requirements and so forth. So stay tuned on that. Okay, so moving on to old business and
John, I'm
yes.
sorry. Before
Sure,
we
go
move
ahead.
on, can I add something? I
Sure.
was doing too many things over here and completely forgot
Sure.
that I wanted to add something as it relates to the adjunct support committee. So
Sure.
I am the spokesperson or chairperson, or I don't know the actual name of it, but I really want to take this opportunity to kind of put it out there to ask if there's anybody else who would be willing to join the committee. We have a few people, but if there's anybody else that would be willing to join the committee to kind of take on this role, because I do not believe I've got a million things on my plate. I got a million moving parts professionally and personally. And I just don't think I can give it the 10 or 11 care that it deserves. And so I'm just kind of putting it out there for everybody that I really, really believe in this committee, and I don't want to see it fall by the wayside, but I don't think I'm the best person right now to head it up. So I wanted to put it out there to see if there's anybody else, either that's already a part of the committee, or if there's anybody new that would like to join the committee that feels like they have the room in their schedule to kind of head it up. And I'd love to be a part of it and help, but I just don't think that I can handle the load. So I wanted to say that.
Well, thanks, LaVonda, and we'll see if we can't look at the group that is the rest of the committee members and see if we can't get somebody else that might be able to serve as the spokesperson and for that group. So
Thank you.
thanks. So moving on now to old business, and I'm not sure where we want to get the proposed revision to the academic misconduct process. I'm not sure where we are with that, or whether we're sort of still at a place where we're looking for feedback. Anybody want to address whether we want to move forward with anything at this point with the academic misconduct process?
John, do you want to show it? Do you have that document? I do. The one that you're talking about, the
yeah.
one that Nathan, do you want me to show
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you want to pull it up.
Yes, certainly. Okay. Okay. So can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So the one thing I was talking to Nathan about is a lot of the background and rationale part is it's good, but it's just, so I think we need to go through this and get to the proposed process, which he talked about. I can't remember either because we sent the academic misconduct form and the, what was it? Oh, the student handbook changes to Dr. Miller to see if we could make those changes that we voted on last time. But I don't think we voted on this, or I'm not sure where we are with his suggestions. John, did you send this to him as well?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So
I
we're
did,
waiting
and
for that
I
too.
resent it. I resent it to him
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Wednesday.
Okay,
Because
I thought so.
we hadn't heard back.
Okay.
I think where we left things after last meeting was that we felt like until we had shared this and gotten some feedback from VP Miller, that that moving too far might be an exercise in futility if we get shot down and they're not interested. And I do think, and I think that was discussed last week or last month as well. This is going to probably be a process. This is not going to be able to hit the catalog for 2023, 24. This is probably going to be a process that's going to need to take some time over the next academic year, with maybe the hopes of it hitting 2024, 2025. I don't know what anybody else, again, I don't know what y'all think about that. I know, but certainly, things like an academic misconduct policy is something that is included in the catalog, and I think we already have that set for this academic year.
Yeah, I don't know, because we haven't heard. I'm not sure how late we can get that stuff in. As far as the academic misconduct form, seems like that would be a pretty easy fix with the changes that we made. Like, right? I mean, adding that AI component to that doesn't seem hard, but as far as this process thing, that's going to be harder. And what's the other thing? The other thing is, the handbook that might, I don't know how fast those things can be done. I don't know how, how fast. But we're waiting. That's the problem. So as soon as we find that stuff out, we can move forward with this.
Well, I guess at this point, does anybody else want to have some further discussion on this, or do we want to table it again until we've had some chance to get some feedback from Dr. Miller, and then maybe send it back to the committee with some of his feedback to further massage and perhaps come up with a proposal that we can vote on and then take to Dr. Miller in a more finished form.
Exactly. Does everybody have, or I don't know if everybody has this document, like everybody on Senate?
It got sent to everybody. Yeah, it got sent to everybody last time.
Okay.
And if anybody doesn't need it, needs it again, if you just let me know, we can send it out to you again. But yeah, it went out to everybody before last meeting.
And if anybody wants now to say anything about it, since they've had it, any suggestions, comments, observations, recitations? Or otherwise, we can just wait till we hear from
Yeah.
Dr. Miller and get back and then add his input to the process or the discussion.
The other item of old business, and this was, I think we tabled just so everybody could fully review it. Was, if you recall last time, there was a proposal to come up with an authorization form that students could execute that would allow faculty or staff to obtain some sort of authorization as a I think a protective measure in terms of doing recommendations that could potentially hit upon FERPA related issues. And thank you. I don't know, yes, Mimi, did you share that? Thank you, Mimi. So this is the form. And I don't know whether we could vote up, or we could discuss and then determine whether we'd want to have any kind of recommendation as it relates to this particular form, or it may be that we think it's a good idea and we need to further come up with a form in conjunction with the administration. But I'll leave that open. So from Michael, I think we need to get feedback from the administration before voting on the AC misconduct. I think I agree with you there, Michael. On the recommendation issue, is there any discussion having to do that? I thought that was a good. I thought this was a good suggestion. I hadn't really thought before about the FERPA. To be honest, I hadn't really considered it. Even me as the lawyer hadn't even considered the FERPA implications of doing recommendations and references. So kudos for kind of bringing that up as something to think about.
Dr. Brewster.
Yes,
Reggie.
Yes, Reggie. Any discussion of the release form, or whether we want to do anything on the release form at this point?
Have we sent this to Dr. Miller, or we're still tabled it before we did that?
Yeah, I have not sent this to Dr. Miller.
I'd like to speak. I mean, does anybody see any downside to this? I really don't. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Is there any downside that I'm just not seeing?
The only thing I think it probably needs to be somehow uniform across the college, but I guess that would be, we could take it in this form and make a recommendation to VP Miller. Yep, Catherine.
My only concern was just if it was going to be a mandatory thing or not. It will be very difficult for speaking on health sciences, it's just going to be really difficult when I'm writing sometimes 25 recommendations to the state board to have every single student when it's all of my cohort that has to have them. I just would not be in favor for it to be mandatory. I understand, because what I'm writing is not have anything to do with grades. It just has to do with ethics.
And I guess to address that, yeah, I just kind of wonder whether, if there is something where, if one of the things I think, this is a benefit to the students. If you say, hey, if you want recommendations that relate to your grades or attendance or anything like that, you need to provide this. That seems to be, that would be a motivating factor to have students fill it out and have that on record. Anybody have thoughts about whether this should be, I guess, mandatory, or whether it should be, I guess, obviously, Catherine just chimed in on whether it should be mandatory or not. but whether it should apply across the board as giving a blanket authorization for faculty, because if it had to be specific to each instructor, professor, adjunct, so forth, it might be a bit more arduous. Anybody have thoughts about that? Or those might be things we need to flesh out. Or, and I guess I'll get back to this. Anybody want to speak to how we want to proceed at this point? I know Michael didn't see any downside. Is this something we want to perhaps run by VP Miller before we and maybe discuss a little bit more the how it's going to work, and maybe whether it can become some sort of standard form?
I think the most important thing is, well, one of the most important things is definitely, is this mandatory? I don't know if Dr. Brewster's, if that was, he was thinking it should be mandatory, or if it's just for protection for the student or the faculty member. That's what I'm not sure the intention exactly about. Did you remember what he said about that? I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know, I'll note that Melissa in the chat has said that she uses something similar, and she finds that students welcome it. I mean, I think that if a student is asking for and wants a recommendation, that they'll be motivated to provide whatever is needed. I guess the issue would be how are we going to keep track of that? Does it, so Melissa says it usually gets scanned back by email, and then I don't, Melissa, do you just keep track of that? Do you just keep that on file with your, you maintain that file yourself? Okay, so she maintains a file of recommendation requests. Anybody else want to chime in about this issue, or does anybody want to move it forward?
Matthew Casazus is wants to move that we send the document as it currently is to VP Miller.
Okay. And we have a second from Melissa. Any further debate or discussion before we, and we have a comment from Michael, I don't think it should be mandatory. An optional process, that something that is sort of a prophylactic measure, kind of a CYA, if you will. So again, Michael, anybody else want to discuss or debate before we put this up to a vote? And if I guess Liz or Mimi, if you could start to, we've got a motion and a second. If you could start to put that together.
I'm making a poll right now.
Okay, great. Anything else while we're waiting for that to come up? Any other discussion? All right. We have something from Michael. Couldn't the current waiver release form be updated to include recommendations?
Yeah.
Anybody else got any? All right. If I don't hear anything else, then let's go ahead and we'll proceed with this motion to send the document that Dr. Brewster had presented to us last week, as it exists now, to Vice President Miller for review and recommendation, understanding that what we're doing is seeking feedback. So go ahead and we'll go ahead and vote on that.
I just stole. Thank you, Matthew, for the good verbiage. I just stole it right out of the chat from you.
Do we still have the poll up or what? I'm not sure what happened with the polls.
I see, yes, it's still up. There's 16 out of 17 people have
Okay,
voted
great.
yes. Yeah, 17,
All right.
18, 19. We're at a 95% yes.
Very good. Well, that resolution will pass and we will take this form to Dr. Miller when we meet with him, hopefully before the end of August. All right, that's what we have in old business. Does anybody have any new business, any topics they'd like to introduce or discuss as part of new business?
I have a small comment to add, if you don't mind.
Yes, George.
I have LinkedIn account and I have a lot of my former students in it. So when a current student looking for an internship in the summer, sometimes I don't make a reference letter. All I do is just connect a current student with a former student, and that's how they get a job. In this case, I don't have to fill any forms, right?
Well, I think right now, I think where we are right now is I don't think there'd be any requirement to fill out a form. And I think the concern from what I understand from Dr. Brewster was the big concern is if you're going to be sharing information about the information to be protected by FERPA, grades, obviously if you had a student that had a 4.0, you might want to put, well, this student had a 4.0 and whatever. Well, that as much as it's a great, thing that I think most people wouldn't object to having shared, it is still a piece of protected academic information. It is a GPA, or, if you said they got all A's in my class or they had perfect attendance, you're touching on things that are protected by FERPA, which, I think that's sort of the genesis of the release form was, and to the point, there may be a place for this and just a regular release form that we already have for parents and whoever else. But
okay,
but in its current form, we're going to take it for some feedback for Dr. Miller.
Okay.
Anybody, any new business that anybody would like to discuss here in our August meeting as we wrap up the summer semester and look forward to fall? All right. Well, I am seeing none, so I'm going to go ahead and if there's nothing else, no other new business, I'm going to go ahead and gavel us to a close of our August meeting. Again, thank you for everybody's contributions today. I can appreciate Mimi and Liz working to get Jackie as our speaker, and appreciate Carol. Carol contacted me and wanted to talk with all of you. So thank you to Carol, and we will meet next time. I know it's somewhat inconvenient, but we will be, well, I don't know about inconvenient, but we will be meeting our next time the Friday before Labor Day. So, but since we're by Zoom, we could be all kinds of different places, and even if we're not on campus, or we might be about to enjoy a long Labor Day weekend. Well, I hope to see everybody for our September meeting, and have a good rest of your Friday, and good luck. There's still about 90 minutes to get grades in if you haven't done so already. So, all right. See you next month.
John, I'm probably going to need the Zoom recording from you again, since I think
Okay.
the same issue as last